Hello, welcome back to Horizons Gaming. My name is Ben, and today we're going to continue on with Suzerain. So, last time out, we agreed on our immigration policies, as well as attended the Benfey Festival, where we watched our wife give a speech and dealt with some of the fallout from that. So, go and pick up here. So we've got one newspaper, and it looks like two reports. Let's take a gander at the paper here. Lockhaven Times. First Lady gives speech. Benfey Festival is now in full motion, and the festival goers are enjoying the many attractions set up. However, this year's Benfey Festival started eventfully. The First Lady's opening speech was interrupted by the Mayor of Anarcha, Curtin Lest, who stood up to the remarks made by the First Lady. Mayor Lest has then continued with his disrespecting accusations and tone, incurring the wrath of the crowd. President Rain has interjected in the developing situation and saved the day by calming the attendees. Mayor Lest's disrespect will surely end up damaging his already declining reputation after this event. Cool. Though it's kind of interesting that it's written like it is happening, or like they're writing at the exact same time as it was happening, but whatever, that's alright. Alright, report from Lockhaven here. Economic report. Fancy. Ministry of Statistics, along with the Ministry of Economy and the Central Bank, have delivered a preliminary economic status report detailing that the recession is deepening and the financial system is heading towards a potential collapse if we don't take serious action. Minister Hull said that the situation was dangerous. Brilliant. So I followed their advice for the most part, and it's not working. Cool. Arcasian access to the Erlery base. Preparations began in Erlery Air Force Base to expand the hangars and restructure the security of the airbase in order to welcome Arcasian planes in the short future. Arcasian security and logistics professionals have already been welcomed to the base to work with Swordfish officials. Coolio. So hopefully that move will help us make some inroads with, with our foreign relations. Cool. Build the Rumberg border fortifications. The military has voiced concerns about the cutting of the military funding and requests additional funds to plug the holes in our defenses at the Rumberg border to the north. Mr. Galad advises us to accept the offer led by General Kruger. The Ministry of Defense will immediately begin implementation upon approval. I've pissed off the military enough already. Let's go ahead and give them that. It's expensive. Probably can't afford it, but it's okay. And back to Soul Sword for a discussion on the formation of a new police force. So that's probably going to be Nia. Oh, or not. Carl Greiser. I know I've seen this guy before, but he had like 3 lines back at the shooting at the inauguration ball, so been a very minor character so far here. Alright, anyway. Carl Greiser arrived for a meeting to discuss the new police force. After Olivia informed us of his arrival, Lucien opened the door and let him in. "Oh, Mr. President, Mr. Glad, what a sunny day, isn't it?" Weather outside was beautiful indeed. Clear sky and sunshine made the scenery look lively. I could even hear the sounds of birds chirping from the palace garden. Good to see you, Carl. How have you been? It's still going okay. We have tackled many security issues, but there's still some to go through. But more importantly, the security situation in the country is much more stable, allowing people to return to more normal life. Please, have a seat. We don't want you to feel uncomfortable. I'm used to feeling uncomfortable. He took a seat and corrected his posture. We have been informed of the establishment of the Anti-Corruption Police under the Ministry of Justice. Indeed so. Minister Morgan has given me full authority to lead the new force in order to fight corruption from within. Congratulations. I hope we'll be close partners in the fight against corruption. Sir, we have a tough and long fight ahead of us. It'll take years, but we will win. You can believe that. I want to make it absolutely clear. My belief in you as a leader is unquestionable. Mr. Morgan, though not as inspiring as you are, has also shown great capability. The more I work with her, the more I am convinced that she is a very motivated and efficient administrator. Yeah, she takes her work personally. Her motivations to fight corruption are real. Yeah, thanks to the resource diversion to her ministry, those objectives can have been met. Justice will indeed be served. Carl leaned closer and lowered his voice ever so slightly. There are elements within our state that have ulterior motives. Well, what do you mean? May I speak frankly, sir? Yeah, sure, you're among friends. There are some very powerful deep state forces inside the administration. Our investigations have just begun, but certain links we have discovered are troubling. Mr. Hawker has financial and other ties to certain figures. He is a dangerous man. Currently, we're collecting evidence to find out exactly what his network comprises. Alright, mispronounced the heck out of that, but that's okay.
We always suspected the existence of such a deep state. The real question here is, who in the government and cabinet is on Mr. Hawker's side?
Don't poke the bear when we're not ready to fight it. Maintain low-key operations. Our police is made up of only the most loyal officers, sir. Hundreds of people handpicked by Minister Morgan. They have no history with the establishment. Our operations are very hidden at the moment. We are picking off the weaker cogs in the machine that will eventually lead us to the top.
The most important subject here is the Old Guard establishment. They pose a direct threat to us. Once enough evidence is gathered, we should be able to begin the corruption trials if we want to. Hawker, Heron, and their cronies in the Supreme Court won't be able to be prosecuted unless the Assembly agrees to in our new constitution. It won't be possible to get them if we fail to pass the reforms or we have no political support in the Assembly, but it is too early to tell.
Yeah, besides them, there are other elements we're aware of. The oligarchs seem to have some people in the inside as well. We've received some unconfirmed reports about Mr. Tusk having bought people in the administration. And they seem to be evading taxes through bribery and exploiting the gray areas in our laws. Our investigators in Estord and Arbel have also found some suspicious financial activity from some of their corporations. If their tax returns were to be made public, it would help us track irregularities in the filings. We could look further into Tusk and the Lutherberg group. If that is your desire, we can certainly inquire further about their operations. Marcel Caranti and HOS also have a strong presence in the media and many other industries. There are some patterns we observed that are unusual. It really seems like they have a powerful influence in the majority of the so-called independent news organizations. They might not be so independent after all. Mr. Caranti has been very supportive of my administration. He's a close friend. He might not be innocent, but if you think he is an issue, then we can move on. Carl sighed. Last but not least is the opposition leader, Franz Richter. We have received intelligence he has connections in Arcasia. Upon further inquiries, we can't seem to find anything illegal here besides a mismatch of information.
The Old Guard must have pushed us forward. We shouldn't even consider moving on the reformist leader in our position.
Richter's a loyal servant of Swordland. The Old Guard's trying to pressure him. The way we received this intelligence was unusual, to say the least. It totally came through the back channels.
There are so many potential corruption cases here.
Therefore, we need to pick a faction to focus on. We can't investigate everyone within the remainder of this term and come up with a thorough and compelling case.
The most logical step would be to use the ACP to pressure either the oligarchs or the Old Guard.
Well, where should we concentrate our anti-corruption efforts? Focus anti-corruption investigations on Hawker and the Old Guard. Yes, sir. We'll focus our research and investigation on the Old Guard.
Well, it has been decided. That should conclude the meeting.
Thank you for your time, Carl. Yeah, it's a privilege to work with you, President Rain. Good day. Carl and Lucian left the room. Nice. So I don't know if we'll actually be able to do anything about the old guard, because getting the reformers passed seems slightly unlikely now. After our failure at convincing two of the most important people in the assembly a couple episodes ago. But at the same time, go after the oligarchs, that might very well hurt the economy some more. As well as it's possible that I might have done something not quite legal. I don't think so. I mean, I told all of them to kind of like screw off, but you never know. Something might have accidentally happened there that I didn't really intend for. So we'll try that. In the journal... Yeah, just launching an investigation of the old guards. Alright. Let's check out the news again. Back to the Whole Sword Post. Anti-corruption police formed. A special police department has been formed to fight corruption within the state, business, and the police itself. The new anti-corruption force, Anti-Corruption Polis, AKP, will be serving its duties under the Justice Ministry of Swordland. Mia Morgna, Karl Greiser, and other government officials spent the past months building the anti-corruption department from scratch. The unit consists of officers from the General Police Force, the Justice Ministry, and the Directorate of Criminal Investigations. We're ready, said Karl Greiser, the newly appointed chief of the anti-corruption police. We are already conducting a crackdown at corruption within our state institutions. Our officers started working on the intelligence reports, Greiser said. Nice. So kind of giving them a little bit of a warning that they're coming for them, whoever exactly them is. They didn't really give anything away. I like it. Alright. So let's head to Suzerain. Budget allocation of the Swordish Armed Forces. Okay, this should be interesting. To determine the current situation of the military and its spending policy, we held a meeting in the White Room. Peter, Vulcan, and ISF were seated. I said that weird, but it's okay. General Vulcan, Mr. Lancia, let's start with the briefing.
Very well, Mr. Vice President.
Whoops, that was supposed to be Peter before. Oh well.
We have prepared a briefing to convey further details about the current situation of our military. First off, we received updated communication from the Akasian Military Command. The planes being moved into earlier airbase as we speak, under our supervision, of course.
Good. Make sure you keep an eye on them.
Of course, Mr. President. Now let's move on to our military. Which branch would you like to know about?
What's the situation of our army?
According to the latest reports from Camp Strongholm.
That name's a little on the nose.
Currently, we field 6 armies, totaling up to approximately 400,000 active troops. Which is a good amount. The real issues we are having is the quality, not the quantity.
What's the current equipment status?
Our army is quite outdated by today's military standards. Most of our equipment is 2 decades old. To make up for our lack of modern military equipment, we resort to large number of soldiers, which is not really a long-term solution. I have been trying hard to reduce the negative effects of this problem. We don't need a modernization program. A standardized purchase of lacking equipment will do. We need more funding toward expanding the military size, otherwise our army will be seen as weak.
But where exactly is our army deployed right now?
The First Army is stationed at the Lesbian Valen borders to protect the way into the central regions of Swordland. The Second Army, our strongest force, has been situated by the Rumberg border. The Second Army has a large mountain commando force, and it is the best equipped army because they are facing Rumberg. The Third Army near the Agnolian border and coastal areas facing Valgland. Due to our bitter past, we generally keep a coastal defense force, although many years ago the decimation of our fleet is still not forgotten.
How do we compare to other armies?
Rumberg fields about 6 armies amounting to 1 million soldiers. Lesbia fields 5 armies, which amounts to about 800 soldiers. Pogson fields 1 army of about 140,000. Valen field an army amounting to 100,000 soldiers, and Agnoli fields 2 armies with a total of 200,000. The sheer size of Rumberg's armies because of forced conscription laws. Due to their massive gold reserves, they're able to afford it. On the other hand, the Lesbian army is most advanced, followed by the Foxlandian army. Both of these countries put lots of money into modernizing the military.
Curious about another branch.
Very well.
Let's talk about the Navy.
Our Navy currently constitutes 59 ships, with a total of 60,000 sailors and support staff. As you know, these ships are commanded from our main naval base in Conrad, where our flagship, SN Readiness, is docked.
How does our Navy compare to others?
Our Navy is dwarfed by the size of the Foxlandian Navy, which is 194 ships, and the Agnolian Navy has 81. We only surpass Lesbia in terms of our Navy, as they have less than 30 ships. As you see, the situation is dire, but the solution is not just more ships. To make a truly better Navy, we need to equip our ships with modern radar and sonar systems. More outdated ships wouldn't mean much.
Which seas does our Navy currently patrol?
We are patrolling the Markian Sea, the Grey Strait, and the Antichaean Sea. Our Navy protects all our coastal regions, however. To make sure we are not thinning out our defense, we prioritize certain regions over others, like Greater Horseward. We often patrol the routes that are close to the shipping lanes, especially Markian Sea and Grey Straits. The amount of cargo that goes through that area is eye-opening. Another thing to note is, after the takeover of Helgoland, where our Navy has led incursion operations to protect Agnolia, we also take part in some joint Navy drills as well.
Whoops. Well, let's about the other branches of the armed forces.
Which one?
Can you provide details on our Air Force?
Our Air Force currently has 410 planes in the inventory, out of which only 140 are jet planes that are not in great condition. 30,000 pilots and support staff work in the Air Force, and they are commanded from the Mark Air Force Base in Early.
What are our operational capabilities?
Our planes can bomb targets within 400-kilometer radius of their airfield. They have medium range and semi-effective nighttime bombing capabilities. At any time, we can field 7 air wings comprising a total of 130 aircraft that can operate in combat duty. This is enough to subdue most targets. In terms of our bombing capability, we have an average of 100 meters of precision. This is not great, but it is still within the effective radius of the bombs.
How experienced are our pilots?
Our pilots have average experience. They have a total of 450 hours flight time with their craft before they are qualified. This gives them more than enough time to get used to it. This is low compared to the 1,000 to 1,500 hours in other countries like Arcasia, United Cantona, Lesbian, and even Volksland. Normally the hours per pilot should be higher, but due to the lack of funding we can't increase the training times. Fuel costs are rather high.
How does our Air Force work together with the other military branches?
The Air Force is trained as an independent tactical support branch, which means it assists other branches but doesn't collaborate. This does cause some issues, like friendly fire and missed close air support opportunities.
That sounds inefficient as hell.
There are ways to improve collaboration with joint operation rooms, something to think about, surely.
I'd like to know about the other branches.
Any specific ones you want to know about?
Actually, let's just move on.
That's.
He cleared his throat.
To say that the Ministry of Defense is furious about the reduction of the military budget would be an understatement. This was a betrayal in our eyes. At the very least, you decided to fund our new border fortifications against Rumberg. This will help our defensive situation to some degree. Units have already built dozens of pillboxes and trenches with tank traps, but it is not enough.
Yosef narrowed his eyes.
If I didn't know better, I would say you are intentionally trying to weaken Swordland, Mr. President.
Of course not. How can you even suggest that?
Cause and effect. That's how I can suggest that.
We stared down at each other. Pater finally interjected. Hey, let's calm down, gentlemen. This is a new age where the military is not top priority. We are going to transform to New Swordland.
This is the age of Rumberg expansionism, and here we are cutting funding for the military. We will need to cut training time, let soldiers go, and stop purchasing equipment. This is disastrous and will destroy the armed forces as we know it.
Military makes do. I'm sure you talented gentlemen find ways to circumvent the cuts efficiently.
Do not expect the Swedish armed forces to be a capable force after these budget changes.
Yosef's voice is getting louder and louder. Hey, gentlemen, please, let's calm down. Let's cause a ruckus.
Tell that to the hundreds of thousands that will lose their employments in the Honorable General Staff of the Armed Forces.
We mean no insult to the armed forces. There's simply no resources left.
You don't mean it, but it has been done. We expected much more from you, Mr. President. You have let us down. Let's hope that our enemies won't realize our weaknesses.
Yosef and Vulcan were angry, but there wasn't much to be done about it. Meeting concluded as the sun set over the concrete jungle that was Holsword. Hey, if the meeting was in Holsword, then why do we have to go to Suzerain to talk about it? I don't know, whatever. Alright. Looks like we got... Ooh. 2 different exclamation points and 2 reports, plus a newspaper. Nice, alright. Well, let's check the news. Sordland today, second continent satellite in space. Chairman Leon Maleniev, just the world announcing the second successful satellite launch from Rostoner Air Base, which has now reached low Earth orbit. Chairman praised the scientists and the UCOSM that allowed the country to reach space a second time. Functionality of the satellite was confirmed when radio contact was established after deployment. Cool, cool. A Sputnik type thingy there. Alright, education reforms in Holsword. The Ministry of Education is reporting that the massive overhaul to the education system is progressing slower than expected. Only a few schools in Sordland will collaborate in the reduction of hours taught in citizenship, solism, and nationalism subjects. Significant efforts are being made to lessen the political indoctrination in education, but are being met with resistance. Other changes, which were supposed to happen in the curriculum, pedagogical improvements like improved teacher-student relations and the emphasis on critical thinking development, weren't able to start due to lack of workforce and funding. Minister Walder reports little progress with most schools delaying the transformation on political grounds. Fantastic. Just what we needed. Alright. From Lockhaven, the H3 highway nears completion. The H3 highway running from Lockhaven to Armory is mostly complete, with final preparations being made for the opening. Regrettably, there have been some issues around the workers' rights law with Taurus Holding. Nonetheless, the project will be completed on time thanks to the administration's decisive actions. With Armory about to be connected to the country's biggest port in Lockhaven with a large highway, people in the region are expected to have access to better jobs, welfare, and other services. H3 will also improve trade links with Agnolia. Cool. Alright. So our story beats are either in Valen or Agnolia. So, well, let's just go ahead and hit Agnolia, why not? Trade talks with the Prime Minister of Agnolia. Nice, okay. Sordland 1's flight from Holsword to Stallport took 3 hours, but went very smoothly. We were about to touch down. David left his seat and came over while Simon was enjoying his newspaper. Yeah, looks like we're about to land, Mr. President. Looked outside. I could see Helluland, the island in between Fogsland and Agnolia. So many conflicts over a small piece of land. The island can barely sustain itself without outside help. I know. I was just thinking the same thing. Thousands of people died fighting for it. I wonder if it was worth it. I suspect it'll be one of the topics that Mr. Van Horten will bring up as a bargaining chip. We must be careful. Helluland might be under the control of Agnolia, but the international community is yet to recognize it, for a good reason, too. Nobody wants to make an enemy of Voxen, especially because of the support of United Quintana and CSP. Me included. I wouldn't want to do anything to injure our relationship with Fogsland. I agree. We should try to do our best to stay in the middle ground. Simon folded his newspaper, got up from his seat, and sat right next to us. Aside from the point of Helluland, we need to be careful with the additional requests. According to the deal that was negotiated so far, they want to sell us their steel for a higher price, and they are requesting easier access to our agricultural market. In return, they are promising cash flow investments, especially in the island region. It's not hard to guess why. Precisely. Magnolian immigrants in our island region make up a good chunk of the region's economy now. During the initial negotiations, they have brought up the topic of immigration many times. The fact that we've relaxed our immigration laws helped tremendously. Let's see if we can shake hands on it. The pilot made an announcement that the descent had started. David and Simon went back to their seats. I took another look outside the window. I could see Stallport, the capital city of Agnolia. The large dockyards of the city and the canals appeared closer as our descent continued. Stallport was certainly a fitting name due to stall meaning canal. A couple minutes later, we finally touched down. The plane parked. I took a final look out from the window. The welcoming ceremony from Magnolia was waiting along the red carpet outside. After the guards made their way out, I exited the plane. I waved at the crowd that gathered. There were many camera flashes. I started to make my way downstairs. Prime Minister Van Horten was nowhere in sight. Instead, I was greeted by the Foreign Minister. After handshakes, a couple of photos, I moved to the car where Serge was waiting to make our way to the office of the Prime Minister.
Good day, sir. I hope the flight was comfortable.
Wow, that was horrible. Yes, it was. Thank you, Serge. I got in the car and we made our way through the foreign streets. Our convoy was protected by Sordish and Agnolian guards in their vehicles. We began driving by the highway beside the port and saw dozens of dockyards and ships anchored. Some of the ships and machinery looked old. The city itself looked very gray and grim. The buildings had a touch of Rumberg's famous monarchian architecture, with a mixture of Sordish signature domes on the older ones. We were now on the main road to the office of the Prime Minister.
It's like they are not too happy to see you, sir.
And I completely forgot his voice, but whatever. Serge pointed at the crowd that gathered on both sides of the street. It was a protest. They were shouting and yelling at our convoy. Some of them held signs written in Sordish. Sordland must pay its debts to Agnolia.
No, I never knew Agnolians were so ungrateful. Not everyone sees a great leader like you every day.
There have been so many issues in Sordland. I don't know if I can call myself a great leader.
Sir, humility is important, but not in this case. They were always scared of Sordland's potential, and now they are afraid that a lion leads Sordland. They are afraid of you.
The convoy started slowing down.
We have arrived, sir.
The car continued through the gates while the security vehicles went the other way. We finally came to a stop in front of the door. Serge left the car and opened the car door. I exited and began walking to the door where dozens of press and the Prime Minister were waiting for me. I saw the PM much more clearly as I neared the door. He was shorter than I thought. Mr. President, welcome to Agnolia, to the beautiful city of Stallport. Thank you so much for the warm welcome. It's great to be here. He reached out for a handshake. The press surrounding us had been waiting for this moment. We shook hands and smiled at the cameras as the press took pictures. He gestured to the entrance of the 200-year-old Parliament building. This way, please. We entered, and the press followed us inside. I would like to present you with a gift as a sign of friendship between our countries. An assistant showed up immediately with a large glass box in her hands. It contained a single parchment inside. This here is one of the first treaties written in between Sorda and Agnolia. May it mark the renewal of our friendship today as well. I hope so, Mr. Van Horten. Our photos were taken again. I gestured at one of my retainers who was holding our gift to the PM. Interesting, okay. This is a tough one. Definitely don't want to do the dog. But why would we want to give him a copy of our Constitution? It's a little weird. I'm just going to give him the sword and hope for the best. Our gift was an ornamented ceremonial sword made of Sordish steel. Oh, there you go. Looks like you liked it. Ah, an excellent specimen. This must be hundreds of years old. Looks like this is Sordish steel as well. Very fitting. Thank you. Cameras flashed once again. Let's go to my office. Follow me. I followed him, and we entered the office of the Prime Minister. It was a room of wooden, minimalist decoration. It was far more modest than I expected. We sat down. He leaned back and made himself comfortable. Sheesh, thankfully done with the ceremonies. I was about to say the same, not fun in these either. It is one of the tougher parts of our job. Got up from his chair and moved over to the bar. There are many varieties of liquor. Would you like a drink, Mr. Rain? Wouldn't mind Spagnolian vodka. Ah, you know your drink. He poured the drinks and gave mine to me before sitting down again. A true gentleman. I can respect that about you, Mr. Horton. This is how we do things in Agnolia, Mr. Rain. I appreciate the kind words, but flattery alone won't sway me this day. First of all, I would like to say that I've been watching the recent changes to the immigration policy. I am glad that you have decided to keep it relaxed. Immigrants are very important for beneficial economical development, and we believe that very much in Agnolia. It is reassuring to see Solon move into a more modern direction. Thank you. He took a sip from his vodka. So tell me, Mr. Rain, is Solon a reliable trading partner to Agnolia? Of course, Mr. Van Horten, you can trust Solon. Very good. He paused for a moment. It was a good move to start building that highway. Overall, this will positively affect our trade. Well done, Mr. Rain. Thank you. You're very kind. Van Horten leaned back further in contemplation. So, what's it going to be? First of all, if we shake hands on it, this agreement is going to be really beneficial for both of us. You should be able to solve your recession in no time with the investment and money flow coming from us. This is, as you know, on top of the reduced tariffs for trade in between our countries. Of course, in return, as discussed between our people and your people before, you will allow us privileged access to your agricultural market. You will be buying steel from us for a higher price, which is a small price to pay, really. That is the deal. What do you say, Mr. Rain? Oof, okay, this is gonna hurt, but I accept. Excellent. Before we dive into the paperwork for the trade deal, I want to offer you another possibility. I would like to expand on a newly found partnership. We have regional forces like Romberg that has been imposing danger on both of our countries. I am of the mind that we must unite, so... By the powers bestowed upon me as the Prime Minister of Agnolia, I am offering a military alliance in between Solon and Agnolia. What do you think? This might bite me in the ass, but very well, I accept. That is excellent to hear. Our ministers will go over the details later. Now that we have gone this far and are willing to enter an alliance, there is another topic I would like to bring up. As you know, Helluland has been long contested in between Agnolia and Fogson. Those warmongers want to take back the island. You know how the international community does not recognize our rightful claim on the island, including Solon. What better act to cement our alliance than announcing to the world that Solon recognizes Helluland to be Agnolian territory? Oof, that's a tough one. They even said we should try to play the middle ground on this. I'm gonna hit option 1 here and see what happens. You're asking too much. It's understandable, but I won't push too much on the matter. We have achieved enough for today. Ah, nice, alright. I was afraid that was going to backfire. Well then. He stood up from his chair. We must continue the official program. As you know, we will pay a visit to our founder's grave for another ceremony. Afterwards, we'll move on to the state dinner. Yeah, after you. As soon as we left the office, I briefed Simon and David on the outcome of the meeting. The rest of our state trip was full of fake smiles, handshakes, incredibly long ceremonies, and even longer meetings between our ministers and their counterparts. When we came to the end of the trip, the way back was mostly silent. I couldn't help but let out a sigh of relief when we touched down in Holsword. It was time to discuss the good news. Nice. Okay. Well, I might regret losing that much money again, but we're gonna go ahead and roll with it. We've gotta open up trade to try to beat this recession, so I think that's probably good debt. But we'll have to find out what happens with that next time. think now is as good a time as any to go ahead and end for today. So, if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. And as always, thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you all next time.